Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the call to order to the Amherst County Board of Supervisors meeting. Let the record reflect it is May 17th, 2022, and the time is 7 p.m. Our first order of business is Mr. Drew Wade is not here tonight. He is out of town and would like to participate remotely. He is in Richmond on personal matters, and we will need a motion from the board to allow him to participate in tonight's meeting.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes, additions, or deletions that need to be made?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as stated.
Motion on the floor by Mrs. Tucker. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, I will ask Mr. Tom Martin to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray together. Our Father and our God, Lord, we just come before you this evening as your humble servants. Lord, I just pray that you will give this board wisdom as we go about the business of the county. Father, we lift up the Widener family to you, Lord, just an institution with the loss of Mr. Widener this past week. Father, we just pray for our employees, lift them up to you. No matter what job they do, they are working to make Amherst a better place, and we thank you for them, Lord. And we just ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I appreciate that. Next, we have citizen comments. On the docket tonight, we have a plethora of public hearings, but this under citizen comments, if you're not speaking under the public hearings, you can come forward now and state your name and district of residence for the record. Now, we do have a few people signed up, and we'll go off this list first. We have Ruth Warner.
And I think the rest is our family. So I think, and I think it's 3 minutes, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and then, so the rest of our family's here, which consists of 10 on Mill Creek. So, and then there's other people here that are commenting on the potential of developing Mill Creek. So they didn't know they had to sign up. So I'm concerned about what's taking place. I understand you're doing a survey. Mr. Dean Rogers came to my home, so that was good, and brought that announcement. But the neighbors, including myself, that we live around the lake, were unified here in great concerns for that. First, for the body of water and the wildlife. And of course, we have concerns for our own safety and our own privacy as well. But I have lived there on the backside of Mill Creek, and there's been a lot of destruction to the lake, a lot of debris, although Dean apparently says you've done some testing. And then last year, which I didn't bring the police reports today, but I will, I guess I can mail all of you, correct? Can I email and mail all of you? Mm-hmm. Is that true? Okay, so I'll bring the facts and the proof of being robbed, literally everything off my property that was the closest to the lake. And then there was a fugitive that came from various counties that were involved, Campbell, Amherst, and Nelson. And the odd thing, all this stuff happened last summer. And I think I would have been more open-minded to that, because I also feel positive, about trails and biking and horsing and all that. That's why we all live in Amherst County. We want to live in the county. But when it's in this beautiful lake, I've already seen major changes too. And on the opposite side of the lake, they say there's some government, but Jane Wilkins wasn't here tonight, but she was going to come. The bathrooms are closed down there often, so there's a lot of debris. And then when I talked to someone, they said that's just common to find condoms and debris and people doing things they shouldn't, which I would beg to differ. And the care of the property should be important, and we should want it maintained at that level as well. And we want lower crime in Amherst, right? Not more. And so I'm concerned, we do have the eagle's nest, we've seen the beautiful wildlife, and I don't know if we're in a place to really protect that lake and to put that many people around that lake and it be reverent, so to speak. So I'm here again. This is, I think, the second or third time that I've come. And so I want to appeal to all of you. There are studies. My son Daniel from VMI can speak on that as well. But I really, before all of our family comes up, I'd like the other people to have a chance. And if any other Warner has something to say at the end, that would be great. But I know I got your letter, and that was respectful. And I think the rest of the people who live around the lake got it as well. I know that it is to the advantage of the county when you get free money and free labor to utilize that. And that's, I guess, what is offered to you. Free money, free labor to work around that lake. I want to ask you, is there any other property to do that that doesn't put the whole community in an uproar? I know all of Bearfield, I'll begin a petition. No one, even on our street that doesn't live on Bearfield, wants that to happen. But I think the idea of the community hiking and biking and horses are great. Now, I went also and talked to Ann Saunders, and there was another trail, and that was also another business endeavor. Okay, so Daniel can, take mine, but let other people take it. But I'm opposed to it, and there's a slew of us, and so please reconsider doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak under citizen comments? Please come forward. State your name and your district of residence.
Pat Malco, and I don't know the district number because I'm new to Turkey Mountain Road, but we are a property owner there. I'm just curious as to what's going on because I've been on the Parks and Rec site and they are petitioning for a grant from the federal government. And I don't know if this is intertwined with this or not. Because it's very expensive to do a survey, so I'm just wondering who's paying. So that would be my number one question. And then we got the letter about the survey, and I do not say that I am Daniel Boone at all, but the mark on my tree, may I show everyone, is certainly more than a week old. So that means that the tree was notched and the survey was done before we were notified of the fact. So, I don't know, this is all very vague. There's nothing on the Parks and Rec website about the proposal. So, is someone going to speak whether that's intertwined or not?
Miss, I don't understand the question. I'm not following any of this, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not for sure. I know the one question was who paid for the survey, and the county paid for the survey. And
We're marking our boundaries.
marking the boundaries on the property. So, people do that all the time without notifying your neighbors. You did notify the neighbors.
I sent a letter, yes, sir.
So,
And it was.
Dated May 11th.
It was, yes, ma'am. And it, we did it 10 years ago, but a lot of those were lost, and so we're going back to remark it so we can find it again.
all right.
Okay, my property was surveyed about a year and a half ago, and there are boundaries, these markings are way up into the property. So I don't know what you're marking.
The boundary.
Of the lake or of the county property?
The county's property. The county owns around the lake.
Okay,
So most people don't own to the water.
okay.
The county owns around the water.
So my survey shows that my lot goes into the water.
That's why we're having a survey done, because that kind of hardly makes sense. Yeah, that is correct.
So my survey
is correct, or your
survey is
We're paying a surveyor to tell us whether it's correct.
That's why it's being resurveyed.
Because the GIS is not legally precise.
this is a picture of the GIS, but I've had a recent survey done. So, are we going to get the results of the survey?
They're being marked as we speak.
I've seen them.
Results are there to be seen on the ground.
I've seen the markings, but the markings don't jive with my survey.
No surveyor. We pay the surveyor to find the markings.
Okay. And are do we know what markings are which? There's property line
We don't
markings.
engage in a debate, Mr.
No,
Chair.
Okay.
Citizen comment.
That's all right. You can bring the questions to us, and we'll try to get you the answers as best we can.
You're welcome to come see me anytime
The-
you call.
Okay.
The county has, is getting a survey of the property around the lake, and if there's property disputes and things like that, that's beyond my purview, or that'd be something that had to be taken up by someone else. But right now, they are marking the property boundary. What we've heard is that we were going to look at possibly a trail around the peripheral of the lake on county property. That is where we are right now. We haven't went any further. No money has been appropriated. Strictly a survey around the edge of the property to see what the county owns and where it is. And that's where we're at.
So would any condemnation and eminent domain be involved?
Not on my watch. I have I do not want to take anyone's property for any type of recreational purpose
And
around
the
the lake.
And the LWCF grant, is that published somewhere? I could not find it anywhere online.
We'll get you that answer.
Okay.
Come and see me.
Mr. Chairman,
Come and see
Yes,
me.
ma'am.
may I notify that you're in District 2, just so you'll know. Turkey Mountain Road is District 2.
Okay, thank you.
Or just give me a call or whatever. I'll be happy to help you answer your questions.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mike Brockman, and I probably own the most land around the lake. It's probably 2 miles of shoreline, the way they eddy in the dirt, the way it eddies in the dirt. Now, I've cut a lot of cherry and walnut lumber off of my place and stored it in my barn, which is just above the lake, probably 150 yards. And I've already had 25% of my stuff stolen, and it's come from the water. Because you got to drive through my property from the 778 side if you were going to come in any other way. And I'm really concerned about people being able to have access to the property. Now, I'm going to read something here. We had 125 acres left in the farm after the lake, the bottoms were taken. It was roughly 80 to 100 acres lost in the initial purchase. So, and my dad was around then. He owned the farm at that time, and he was the one that sold the land to the county. So I don't know if anybody remembers John D. Smith. He was renting land on my place back in '86. He and my dad were great friends. They did a lot of business deals together. And so At the time, the lake started filling, I believe, in November, maybe of '86. It was projected to take 6 months for the lake to fill up. It filled up in 2 months, and the water line started moving up then. So he had a fence around the property that he was renting, separating the lake and the property that he was grazing. So then he came in and brought another fence, moved it back from the water line to where it stands presently. Now, I have, some of the land is above the fence, some of it's in the water. And I mean, the way I'm looking at this right now is 50 feet back more than from where everything is down. Now, I'm gonna lose acres of land. In a 2 mile roughly circumference down on that side of the lake, that's a lot of land. And it does, it sounds great, but I'm gonna expose a lot of land to this trail. People can walk off, they can go in, wee, take a crap, whatever. And they do that stuff. They'll walk in and they think they own the land. And well, I'm listening, I'm getting information right now. I can't say that, I just have to wait and see what y'all come up with as far as the boundary line that you claim you own. But I'm telling you right now, you won't own the land that you gonna take for a 50-foot right of way. And I'm not expecting to give that land to y'all. If anybody's got any questions for me, I'd love to hear from them. But I've watched this thing all my life. Gaspar DiGiovanni, we just rented him all the land to put cattle back into place, and he is the fence part of it that he's gonna use. So I don't know, we've lost about 100 bales of square baled hay last year that just walked away. And so I'm gonna listen and see what y'all have to say before I start, planning my options. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brockman.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward.
Good evening. Rodney Sandage, District 2, property on Mill Creek Lake. My family's owned this piece of property since 1955. I got the letter after it was surveyed. I'm concerned about the 50-foot boundary that they're talking about. Like Mr. Brockman, I'm listening to see what's going to happen for this trail, or bike trail, or horse trail. I don't have a problem with trails, bike, horse, walking, but I've been in the county all my life, and I know the initial plan was to build another lake and another piece of property. County owns 250 acres of property off of Public Creek Road and also Forest Sales Road. I think we need to do something with that property. I think that's where the horse trail needs to go, the bike trail, and the hiking trail. And that's my pitch on it. So I'm gonna wait and see what happens in our neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Sandage. Anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. State your name and district.
June Harvey McNamara, I'm from District 2, and I did speak with Mr. Rogers and was upset that we didn't get told that the survey was being done, and thank you for sending the letter after the fact. The markers that were put out, again, I have some questions about those with my survey. Did anybody do any kind of a feasibility plan about putting paths on the lake and what the impact would be on the lake itself? Like an impact study? Have you done that? the erosion, those kind of things. Because I can tell you right now, people have made their own path by the park, and look what it's done. This is what you're going to have all around that beautiful lake. That's from people just walking. And that's right by the park. So I have a lot of concern about the erosion piece of it, but also we finally have beaver. We had lost all the beaver down there. We now have beaver down in the little lagoon near my property. We also have, the geese come every year to lay their eggs on my property. That'll go away. I have 3 fox dens right by where the property lines are. They'll be gone. So it's going to impact the wildlife, the bald eagles and everything. But I'm concerned about the water itself. I took some other pictures. You can see the trash just where the people are making this paths themselves. That's going to happen. That's real. Concerned for my own safety because I have horses, I have barns, I have equipment. Can't see everything coming up from the woods like that. So I do have a concern about it. I've lived here 30 years. I moved out in the country to get away from people, to be honest. I live with poor landline service. The phones were horrible. The cell service is horrible. No computer access. But it was the peace and the serenity, the beauty of Amherst County that brought me here, and that's what I want to see remain. I will wait and see what happens after you do this, but I'm concerned and I'm very much against it. So if you would keep us informed as to what's going to happen. I do think we all have the right to compare our surveys with the surveys that were done, because I think there is some discrepancies there. So we'd like to do that. I will say, when we moved here 30 years ago, Dan French had tried to get more property from us, and I think some other people around, because our property line is almost to the edge. So I can't even imagine how they could put a path around this lake, because there's a lot of drop-offs. Mr. Sandage himself has it's all cliff. So I think, when this is all done, it's going to be interesting to see what you all come up with. So please keep us informed. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, anyone else wishing to speak, please come forward. Please state your name and district.
Daniel Warner, 885 Bearfield Road, Amherst County. I echo everyone's statement. Everyone had a different spin, but it's kind of the same if we think of the common thread. We're here in Amherst County, we're tax-paying citizens, we care about it. I am a VMI grad, and I have 3 degrees in biology. I just finished an internship with the Department of Interior. My major concern is, once you start a progress of this in the sense of contemporary movement and infrastructure development, traffic, it's irreversible. I've probably done, maybe 30 or 40 sites across CONUS, continental U.S., and it's done. When you destroy something, even at a mycorrhizal level, it's irreversible, and water is the source of life. I've brought up some concerns, like the quality of the water, even over the past decade. I've noticed it. We've seen it, we talk about the Gulf of Mexico all the time, the nitrate, the buildup, the algal blooms, that's been there. And I think the heartbeat of everyone here, this is a win, the common ground, the win is everyone wants to appreciate this, and I think that's possible. But I think we need to be very careful. I think a survey does need to be conducted in the sense of the ecological impact. I think nobody's done that. I'm not accusing anyone, I'm just saying maybe some food for thought. Our history is kind of dirty. I'm not trying to wax poetic, but I think an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, to quote Benjamin Franklin. My heartbeat is the wildlife, and that's what everyone goes there for. We paddleboard, we kayak, we canoe. There's a reason we only use trolling motors, in that sense, to keep the sanctity and the tranquility of that area in mind. And as we've seen with Smith Mountain Lake, once we have riparian, and I say devastation, there is an effect. Sure, we want recreation, but how do those marry? At this point, also, safety is an issue. With traffic and trash, that uptick's going to be incalculable. Even with the heartbeat on it right now, my brothers and I, Josh is an Eagle Scout, we go down there and we clean up trash all the time. So I can only imagine, as you open up the highway, around the lake, that pollution effect is going to take its toll. And we know people, sadly, however you want to take a Kent perspective on it, we typically tend to be lazy or whatever's convenient, and sadly, we litter. It's a big pet peeve for me, but I see people do it. So how will that impact what we want to see when we come to Amherst County? We're like, oh, we have these 3 beautiful lakes. And we can come and we can take pride in that, because what I'm really pushing for, and this is my heartbeat, is that we preserve it in the sense of its virginity. Yes, it is a man-made lake. I understand that. But if we can push for it to be appreciated by all just by the lake access, I think that's a win-win. People still can appreciate it with the canoes and the kayaks and everything else. And I don't know what the plan is for the county property adjacent at the tail end of Bearfield, but opening up that like an Isaac Walton, I think that's going to have irreversible effects as well. Having that as something as in a sense, I don't know how you'd say it, like an estate wilderness place where we can go and those birds and those endemic to the area, the wildlife. I mean, we're just biting, and taking. And once you take something, it takes 100 years plus, even for an oak tree, and I don't know, I'm part Native American. I'm not Monacan, but we come from upstate New York in the sense of the Iroquois. And I've cried with them. I've cried with some of the people in the Monacan Nation, and they just, purchased that acreage that used to be the Flippins. And I've cried with them. They're like, yeah, this is so hard for generations to rebuild this.
Sir?
Time.
Yes, sir.
I understand. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Please state your name and residence.
My name is Victoria Warner in District 2, 885 Bearfield Road. And I know many people have already said what I'm about to say, but I would like to restate it. My primary concern in regard to this bike trail plan around Mill Creek Lake is that many people will lose privacy around and on their personal property, including my family and I, if a trail is created around the lake. My family and I have already had thousands of dollars worth of personal property stolen as well. Furthermore, the risk of disturbing the wildlife, as was stated, is a concern. Lastly, it would not even be safe since there is major flooding and erosion, as was said, around the lake, and there are many other concerns, including littering and that sort of thing. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? If not, we'll go ahead and close the citizen comments. And what I'd like to say is probably this board, at a later date, we need to have a discussion regarding the trail, the potential trail around the lake. And Dean, you could maybe get the survey. Once the survey is done, take a look at it and have a discussion as a board.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I mean, we can see on the GIS that the boundary is hard to follow precisely. It does look like it goes into the water in some places. And so it may not be possible to get the trail all the way around the lake. The question for us is, where does the county already own enough property that it could put a trail? I don't understand the references to the 50-foot right-of-way. And I think what we're hoping for is something like an Appalachian Trail style trail, one lane, yes ma'am, one lane through the woods, so that people can enjoy the water. But if we can't get around past a piece of property, then I know you all don't want to take anyone's property for that purpose, so that's not going to be an option.
Do you have the results of the survey?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So when you
They're
get the
ongoing.
Of course. So when you get the results of the survey and there's a plat, I would suggest we sit down and look at it and see what is feasible and what isn't.
Yes, sir.
Because this might be a moot conversation.
And also that will be a matter of public record, so everyone will be able to see the
Absolutely.
plat and show it to their surveyors, and then I don't know if there's a dispute between surveyors, how that's sorted out, but.
Well, you don't want 20 lawsuits.
All right. So we'll go ahead and just bring that back to us, and we're going to move on to our next matter, which is public hearing. This is the VDOT Rural Rustic Priority List for FY '23 through '28. Mr. Robert Brown's going to be here from VDOT.
Do you need me to call up the list on the screen, or everybody should have it at their place? It's one of the attachments. You want it called up?
That doesn't matter. You can put it up if you want to. I'm just gonna go over the plan and show what's in it. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. I've got a gentleman here I'd like to introduce. I don't think I've introduced him to you. I had a new assistant. I got another new assistant last year. Mr. Daniel Brown is my assistant resident engineer. He is in our land use section, and he's been a great addition to the Appomattox, to our office, and to all our counties. So I know y'all hadn't seen him, and he's my assistant, and just want to show him off tonight because he's doing a great job for us. Thank you, Daniel. Looking at the 6-year plan, our funding allocations, they've been pretty steady. We're getting about the same monies we've been getting for the last few years. And if in your packet, if you look on the cover sheet right here, you will see the dollars that we get. We're projecting FY '23 through FY '28 funding. Really, the only years that really are probably concrete is what's in FY '23, because the rest of it is just projections. Normally, they stay pretty true with some adjustments. But when you look at our plan, if you turn with me to page 2 of 5, you're going to see a road shows up as our #1 priority, Lavender Lane. That road has been completely constructed and is waiting financial closure. Our second line item in our budget in the 6-year plan is Campbell's Mill Road, Route 608. That project has been completed and awaiting financial closure. Our third project is East Perch, Route 650. That is under construction. We anticipate having that completed probably in the next 60 days. That project is right at 2 miles. The next project that we have is in line 4, priority 4, is our Foxhall Drive, Route 606. We anticipate starting construction on that road in July of this year. Priority 5 is Shady Mountain Road, Route 696. We anticipate starting construction on that in August of this year. And following that is Chestnut Lane. Chestnut Lane, Route 729. We anticipate construction on that starting in August to September. And then after that, you'll see Beverlytown Road, Route 607. That is the first section that we're doing of Beverlytown, and we do plan on starting that construction possibly late September or October. Those are the roads that will be constructed that we plan to construct this year. If you look at the next priority, which is priority 8 in the 6-year plan, is Windy Ridge, Route 733. That will be funded after July 1st of '23. Weir's Gap, we have a little bit left to do over there. That should follow. in after July 1st of '23 in FY '24. And then we get into Kenmore Road. That is priority number 10 in our 6-year plan. We should start construction of that in 2023. Walnuts, and priority number 11, between 10 and 11, we don't have anything programmed for FY '24 because all our money's tied up, but I hope that maybe through some some balances that are left over on these existing projects that are in the plan, that we can transfer some money and have some money to where we can get in a couple roads in FY '24. But then again, if you look on at priority 11, if that doesn't come true, then Route 776 Walnut Springs Road, that will be funded after July 1 of '25. West Monitor Road, Route 616, that'll be funded in July 1 of '25. Getty's Mountain, there's been a lot of interest in Getty's Mountain. That's just working its way through the plan. That is priority 13. That should be funded 7/1/2025, as well as Indian Creek. There was a lot of interest in that road. That has worked its way up through the priorities. And that right now, the way the funding hits, that should start sometime after July 1 of 2026. That is our plan up to that point. If you look on into it's a couple more line items in here I want to bring you aware of. Line item, our FY '21 Amherst County on page 5 of 5, you're going to see 3 lines right here on the end, on the very last sheet, that says FY '25 Amherst County unpaid run projects. You'll see for FY '25 and '26 and '27, and this is simply unpaid road dollars that we have not programmed yet. So these are, we didn't program the last 3 years because it really doesn't matter, but this is unspent, unpaid road money that we will program and pull projects into the plan next year. So that is the plan. Be glad to answer any questions, and quite frankly, we have a very aggressive construction schedule this year. We're using a lot of outside resources other than state forces to construct these roads, and we're going to do our best to get all of them completed this year and stay on track.
Well, thank you, Mr. Brown. Does anyone have some questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I was very surprised when I saw where Indian Creek Road was. It has been up closer to the top now for a couple years, and it keeps moving up. It was much further up the totem pole than where it is right now. What happened? Have you gone up that road recently?
I haven't been up that road recently, but Ms. Tucker, that road was added at your request, and it was placed in the priority on this list, and I have not done anything to the priority that the board set on Indian Creek.
I don't even know how to say that, because I can tell you I would not have sat here and been quiet if I saw Indian Creek that far down. And I've got my notes where I called the people up there and told them it would probably happen in 2024, 2023, 2024. And now I hear it's not going to be started until June of 2026. A school bus can't go up that road anymore. If you hit it just right, you're going to go over the mountain. There's orange cones up there. That's how dangerous it is. People are moving up there, every year.
Certainly, I will look at it, Ms. Tucker, and if there's any temporary repairs that we can make to eliminate some of those concerns, we will certainly do that. We will certainly do that.
All right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brown, was Ferry, I know I talked to you a while back from a gentleman that had called reference to Ferry off of Route 130. And you got up and have done some ditch cleaning and whatnot. I don't even see that on this list at all.
No, it's not, and it should be.
Yes.
It should be on here, because
And it was...
No, it's on there. Was Ferry, it's number 10, isn't it?
I didn't see it at all.
Excuse me, I'm looking at the unpaid road list, not the 6-year plan.
Okay.
See, we have the 6-year plan, we keep that. We revise that every year. And then this list right here, which I think you all got a copy of that too.
I don't have that.
You don't have that? Okay, you should have had that. This list right here is the unpaid road list where we track and record requests that come in from you, the supervisors. Excuse me, Mr. Boyd. And this is how,
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Tubman, this is how we keep up with priority. And these are the
See Indian Creek Road, that's what I'm thinking. I was way up here. See, way up here, and then some, anyway, go ahead.
See, this list is not in the 6-year plan. This is just a list that we record and track what you all request from your constituents. When they call
Right.
you and say, oh, I'd like to get my road paved, can I get it? And make a request. It goes on this list until it goes in the 6-year plan. And as we work on these priorities, if you look in this first column right here, it has the priority, and that priority is the priority that the board sets. So we track it, and that's how we use this list when we revise the 6-year plan to pull projects off of this list that go into the 6-year plan. Does that help explain it a little bit better?
Yes.
Make a little more sense now?
So some of these we would see that's currently already been pulled off, like Kentmore Farm, is that correct?
Kentmore Farm's still in it.
That's in there.
I know that's been, it's here, but it's also here.
Right.
I don't know it.
And Walnut Springs Road is currently on here, but
Yeah,
now it's
we
on
are
the 6-year
down.
plan.
We didn't revise this because we're down to number 5. If you see, Indian Creek is down to number 5. That went into the plan, into the 6-year plan this year.
Okay, so you're saying that we set these as our priorities.
Yes.
As projects fall off of the 6-year plan,
As they are completed.
these come into it.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay, so just, it's our top priority, but it hadn't, in the 6-year plan, it's still lower than you probably thought. It's still in the out years.
Well, I don't understand. I don't want to go through this right now, Mr. Chairman, but
Well,
I'm going to have some questions.
we're going to have a public hearing, and we're going to decide whether or not we want to prioritize these as is. I guess every year we can reprioritize these rural rustic list, and then I guess depending on the 6-year plan, wherever it falls on that, one drops off, another one rises up to the 6-year plan, right?
Well, typically, like these priorities, these are the priorities that you all set last year. These are the priorities you all set last year. And it didn't revise this year because we had plenty of projects on here that would come into the plan, the 6-year plan. So,
And so you have to meet a certain criteria. Vehicles per day has to meet a certain criteria, is that correct?
to be eligible for unpaid road funds?
Yes.
Yes, it has to have 50 vehicles per day on it to use unpaid road funds. Some of our funds are tele fees. There's no restriction on those fees. Those are a different pot of money.
Okay.
All right, so what is the last project that's actually funded?
The last project that's in the plan is Indian Creek, and that is,
No, I mean this fiscal year, or this year, 20,
the last project that's getting money in the last project that was funded in FY 22 was Chestnut Lane. Chestnut Lane. Beverly Town, Windy Ridge Road, the little section of Weir's Gap, Kenmore Farm Road, They're all funded out of FY '23 money, which begins July 1st of '22.
Which is our top two on this list.
Yes.
That's where they match up.
Yes.
All right.
Now, in the past, when we complete projects with state forces, we generally have balances left over. And we move them down to the next project, and that way, some of these projects, usually they are accelerated to some degree. Now, with this hyperinflation, I don't know how that's going to work with our balances, having leftover balances with the increased cost. But traditionally, we've been able to move balances down and accelerate projects.
All right, Board, any more questions?
I have one, I'm gonna just leave it alone. On this list here, we've got at least two, West Monitor Road and Beverlytown Road, which are also on this big list that you said was the 6-year plan. I thought,
Yeah, Indian Creek's on that one too for 2025.
no, Indian Creek's, right, but then they're also on here. I guess, like, I didn't understand what happened with Walls Ferry Road. I didn't understand that one either.
It hadn't made it to the 6-year. He doesn't line the lists up.
For priority 5 on your unpaid road list,
Right?
those projects are in the 6-year plan that we're going to be approving. 5 ups is in the plan.
Okay, all right. All right, Mr. Chairman.
All
We'll
right.
leave this alone for now.
All right, I know you wanna make your constituents happy, so get that Indian Creek paved as soon as you can. I understand that. If there's no more questions from Mr. Brown, we appreciate it. We'll be seeing you soon again, I suppose, and we'll be updating this list before you know it, so.
Public hearing.
We need a public.
Yeah, I know, I'm gonna do the public hearing as soon as he takes a seat. You're good?
Okay, do you all want to approve this?
I'm going to right now.
After the public hearing.
Okay, yes, sir, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing for the VDOT Rural Rustic List for FY '23 through FY '28. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the hearing for the VDOT Rural Rustic List, and we need a motion, Board.
Mr. Chairman, I move the board approve the priority list ranking as proposed and amended.
Motion on the floor by Ms. Tucker. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next we have ordinance 2022-0004. This is relating to the abatement of refuse and weeds. Mr. Popovich?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This again is a proposed ordinance change to allow for the imposition of civil penalties to address refuse and weeds throughout the county.
All right, this has been before us about 3 times now. Does anyone have any questions? All right, if not, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 2022-0004. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? We'll go ahead, seeing no one, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. We need a motion, Board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board adopt ordinance 2022-0004 as presented.
All right, motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Popovich, we got another one for you. Ordinance 2022-0005 as it relates to inoperable, abandoned, and unattended vehicles.
Yes, sir. This too will add the ability to impose civil penalties to address abandoned vehicles in the county.
All right, we've seen this before too. It's just another tool, I guess, for us to use. There's a lot of complaints regarding abandoned vehicles in the county,
Yes, sir.
and this would just allow us a different avenue to go down. All right, well, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board adopt ordinance 2022-0005 as presented.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, our next public hearing is ordinance 2022-0008. This is amending section 516 and 517 of chapter 5 in relation to the election districts.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. As is required under the U.S. Constitution and the Virginia Constitution, you are required to evaluate your election district makeup every 10 years based on the most recent U.S. Census. As a result of the last census, it was determined that election districts 4 and 5 were out of sync, and there needed to be an adjustment with folks being moved from one to the other. I am pleased to advise you that as of this afternoon, I am in receipt of the official letter from the Commonwealth Attorney's Office, or Office of the Attorney General, I'm sorry, that our request for certification of no objection to the change is approved. So we have received that certification, so we are well within the law.
Okay, and this change only affected districts 4 and districts 5.
Correct.
And actually made it a lot cleaner than what it was before. Now there's a actual road that delineates the two.
Correct.
So it's actually a good change. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing regarding ordinance 2022-0008. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Board, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'll make a motion that the board adopt ordinance 2022-0008 as presented.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Wade. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We've got a whole bunch of them this evening, I see. Mr. Bryan, I think our next is actually a short-term tourist rental, special exception 2022-108. Allison Prim.
Yes, sir. This is a request by Alice Prim. This special exception is in the R2 General Residential District. It is for a short-term tourist rental of a dwelling, as you mentioned, at 779 River Road. Access is provided from River Road. This is a unique parcel. It borders the James River, Harris Creek, and River Road. The parcel to the west has a single-family dwelling that's approximately 300 feet from the property. The dwelling is located outside of the floodway, the 100-year floodway. Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions that are found in the staff report.
All right, Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Bryant or the owner?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bryant. All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the request with the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission.
A motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, Mr. Brown, we have another special exception for a short-term tourist rental wedding venue.
We do. This has a few more requests. This is a request by Wilson Blanchard for multiple special exception requests in the agricultural district. The purpose of this special exception is to allow a wedding venue, a special event venue, fishing and hunting retreat, and a short-term tourist rental of 8 existing apartments and the main dwelling, which is located on one parcel. This property is located at 369 Kenmore Road. Currently, the parcel has a single-family dwelling, which is at 415 Kenmore, 4 units north 415 Kenmore. The main house has 2 units, and the structure beside the main house and the lake has 2 units. The apartment buildings are legal, non-conforming structures and were built before Amherst County had zoning regulations in 1982. We've consulted with the health department to make sure that everything checked out. The applicants also worked with VDOT for improving the entrances. The Planning Commission recommended approval of this request with the staff, or with the recommended conditions.
Any questions for Mr. Bryant? All right. Well, we will go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Please state your name.
Wilson Blanchard, 369 Kenmore Road, here in Amherst. Jeremy Bryant, Sarah Nichols, and the Health Department, Mr. Kessner of VDOT. So they had a list of just things they want to make sure that we're comply with, and we will be glad to comply with all the requirements.
We appreciate it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll go ahead and I move that the Board of Supervisors approve the request with conditions recommended by the Planning Commission. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, and finally, we have special exception 2022-117, cease construction.
This is a request at Tractor Supply Company in Madison Heights for a special exception in the commercial district. The purpose of the special exception is to allow a propane tank that's 1,000 gallons in size. This property is located at 192 Amlon Square. Both building code regulations and fire code regulations require certain minimum setbacks of these propane tanks from a number of different things like buildings, property lines. And so the regulations require there's a distance of 3 feet between. If you had multiple petroleum tanks, they're only going to have one. A 25-foot setback from roads and lot lines, 50 feet from all structures, and installed in a manner to reduce exposure and proximity to vehicular traffic. They're placing this propane tank within the gated area that they have. Both our building official and our fire official will have reviewed and will review at the building permit stage again. There is a requirement within the zoning ordinance that says the Board of Supervisors may impose greater setbacks if above ground liquefied petroleum gas containers located in close proximity to the following non-exhaustive list of land uses. That includes dwellings, schools, churches, government facilities, or other uses with higher densities where people gather. The tank is over 300 feet from Amlon Elementary School, so it's in compliance with all of our minimum standards and exceeds other standards. So we didn't recommend any greater standards other than make sure we meet the fire code and the building code, which have the same regulation in terms of setbacks. The Planning Commission recommended in favor with the 2 staff conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant. Any questions for Mr. Bryant? All right. If there's no questions, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And we need a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Supervisors recommend approval of the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Wade. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Are there any questions regarding the consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as posted.
All right, motion on the floor by Mrs. Tucker. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, now we get to have our Madison Heights Master Plan update. Mr. Bryant, I think you have a representative here from EPR.
I do. I'm pleased to introduce you to Vlad Gravilovic. Vlad is a principal with EPR. They're the firm that we're using for the Madison Heights Master Plan. Vlad has over 30 years of experience in land use, urban design, and transportation practice. We've actually used Vlad about 10 years ago for some planning here in Amherst when he was with Renaissance Planning Group. And now he's with EPR, both located out of Charlottesville. So I'm pleased to introduce you to Vlad, and he's going to provide you a presentation on the Madison Heights Master Plan.
You're going to call up his slides?
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I promise not to take too much of your time, but I just want to share with you some facts about this project and really get your guidance and input as we proceed with it. Thank you, Jeremy, for the intro. We're also actually leading a team that includes RKG for market assessment and LPDA for more detailed site planning and design recommendations. So we're honored to be working with you on this project, and I'll just share with you some facts and figures and impressions of this as we get started. Oops. I already broke it. All right, I'll go next.
Just use the keys down.
Arrow keys, gotcha. Thank you. As you can see, as you well know, this is in the southern part of the county, what we're calling the Madison Heights study area. It has excellent transportation access, bounded by major roads, close proximity to Lynchburg, has some great opportunities for potential future development, redevelopment with the Central Virginia Training Center, recently completed master plan for that, an area we call the core development area, vacant land towards the center of it, but fronting on Route 29, and of course the commercial development on Route 29. We see this project as about three things: economic development, sense of community, and quality of life. Building on those, reinforcing them, and having the Madison Heights area flourish and thrive and realize its full potential in the coming years. So we started this project a little while ago. I'll show you a timeline in a second, but we're supported by very good kind of groups to share input and interest. We have a staff committee of Dean and Jeremy and Bob and Victoria. Then we have the steering committee, which has representation from the board, planning commission, service authority, economic development authority, and staff. We have our consultant team, as I mentioned, and then we also have a series of meetings we're doing with stakeholders and surveys that we're doing with the general public. So all of this is giving us great input, and we're here tonight to get your guidance and leadership on this too, before we go too far in it. So we're on track, on schedule. As you see, we started around December. We've been doing analysis of the needs. We've got an analysis of the various transportation, utility, site issues, adjacent uses, market analysis. We have launched community surveys, 2 of them. I'll talk about those in a moment. And we're starting the kind of area-wide planning and the stakeholder engagement. That will be followed by detailed planning. We're scheduled to do a more detailed plan of the core development area. We're also going to do a Route 29 corridor plan, look at transportation safety issues there, and then we will do a community open house in the winter to share this plan with the community and, of course, get your input prior to public hearings and adoption. So it's a very exciting process. We're deep into it now, and some of the kind of challenges and issues that we will be taking on in the coming weeks is really creating a unified vision to Madison Heights, to this study area. So how do we create a vision that includes what you have in the historic Madison Heights, Old Town Madison Heights neighborhoods, these larger residential neighborhoods, Woodland Drive and Seminole Drive, and then these smaller neighborhoods or lower density neighborhoods in the kind of eastern part of the site where you have a lot of topography and beautiful rolling land, and then a number of small crossroads communities where you either formerly or currently have some commercial development at the crossroads. And then, of course, the big opportunity here, in addition to the core development area and the CVTC site, is revitalizing the commercial strip area on Route 29 and providing a vision for that is safer, that allows access and throughput, but also creates a design vision for how that commercial development there can be revitalized, redeveloped if it's aging, or new infill opportunities as we go through it. So that's a challenge before us. Love to get some of your input on this, as I said, as we launch into the kind of detailed analysis and design phase. And where we are now, and I mentioned the website has 2 surveys on there. These launched about a month ago. They'll be up for another 2-3 weeks. We want to close them when we've closed the kind of public input and stakeholder input around the beginning of June. And there's a vision survey, which asks folks what their vision is for the county. We've had over 340 responses for that vision for Madison Heights, rather. We also have a map survey where people can put their pins for things they'd like to see preserved, redeveloped, safety issues, ideas and opportunities for the area. We've had over 140 of those, but Jeremy has been helpful in promoting these. We want to do another big push, and we would ask you as well, also with your constituents and folks that you talk to get good representation on these surveys so that we can use that input to build this vision. And I mentioned we're also doing a series of stakeholder meetings with you all and the Planning Commission in a couple of nights. We're convening business interests, business owners, property owners, institutions, churches, and just trying to get who are the leaders and interested parties in the area to give us their input through a series of meetings in May. So that's where we are. It's an exciting process to be working on, and what we wanted to ask you is a couple of things. Your hopes for this study. So what would you like to see in the winter when we're completed? What kind of study and kind of questions answered? What are issues that we should be concerned with, or particular opportunities we want to capitalize on this site? And then finally, what success will look like, not just for our study, but this is a long-range plan. This is not something that we're going to implement in the next year or two. It's going to take years to implement this. We're going to put some actions that can be done in the near term, but also some long-term policy development. So when you look ahead to Madison Heights and, even beyond our generation or children's generation, what do you think success looks like in that area? So thank you for the brief background, and happy to answer any questions or take any input you have.
Thank you very much for the information. You already hit on some of the things I think are most important, and that would be public involvement. The people that live in those communities and those areas, to get their input, because they're the ones that will be affected. So that would be number one for me. Number two is looking at infill development in places that will already have the infrastructure. There's some neighborhoods, for instance, Old Right Shop Road is a place that I think could use a little bit of, and that would be one area. I don't know how much we've looked at it, but that's one area that I could see. As far as I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure this out. Mr. Martin might can be. I guess success would be a better community, a better looking community. I guess it's all in the cards at this point, but public involvement is going to be very important. Board, anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just start. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. I guess as far as your stakeholders go, you listed it as property owners. I would hope you would change that to residents, or add one specifically for residents. I think we're interested in hearing from all of our citizens, whether or not they rent or own property. I think you're touching on it, but access management through that business corridor is a key. So I hope you're working with VDOT, improving traffic safety, economic development. How do we attract new businesses in the area while supporting our existing ones? But Mr. Pugh, definitely hit on the infill development, and also improving the appearance is keys in this. And I'm very confident in you and your staff, your firm to do this.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Mr. Pugh, if I may make a comment. At this point in the process, the challenge is getting the word out so we can get the input in. So I want to encourage you all to stop by Joy's desk. Joy Niehaus, our public information officer, has created a little card with a QR code on it that you can just sort of hand out that'll take people directly to the survey site. And if you would, whenever you're in a group or setting on your own web pages, make mention of Envision Madison Heights. I spoke about it this morning at the seniors luncheon. I spoke about it at a community gathering at the Madison Heights Baptist Church. And Joy is putting out press releases every 2 or 3 days to try to encourage people to participate. Because what we don't want to have happen is, we get to the end of this and everybody said, where did that happen? Why didn't you ask me something? And so it's really hard to get the word out. So everybody really does need to help with that.
So, Mr. Rogers, I would say I'm glad you're going out to places. I would encourage you and, staff to go out and continue to do that. We can't expect them to come to us.
Right.
We need to go there, and we need to take every opportunity to discuss the future of Madison Heights with them. So, church groups, other institutions, business, whatever. I think we need to be going out there.
One of the cool features of the MAP survey is that it allows everyone to comment on everyone else's ideas. So there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down button. So I'm hopeful that the board will get a sense for where the public stands on some of these. Some of these you're not going to like, some of them you're really going to like, and I know you'll want to know what the public thinks about them.
Yeah, I think that's an important tool, but I think the face-to-face is definitely key.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else? Well, Vlad?
I have a question.
All right. Go, Mr.
Is there any way, like if I'm looking up Business 29 there's multiple pins referring to the same area, a lot of overlap there looking at the map. Is there any way to link those to one pin and have the various ideas fall up under that single pin? It's not so...
To answer your question, if you zoom in there, you can see what the individual pins are precisely located, but we want to give people the opportunity to make their own unique comments, and they can comment on other people's too, as Mr. Rogers said, but we will be consolidating these into themes, and particularly where they're clustered in one area. So yeah, we'll make sure to make sense of this and not just have several hundred random comments, and try to pull out what the folks are saying as common themes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it all right if I call you Vlad as opposed to Grov? How do you say the last name?
It took me years. Gavrilovic.
Okay. I'll just stick with Vlad. That'll suit my tongue a little better. But thank you for everything you do. We appreciate it, and thanks for the update.
Thank you very much.
Safe travels.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Board, we're on to new business now, and the first item is Building Appeals Board Charter Change. Mr. Bryant is here to give us an update on that.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and fellow board members. Nate could not be here tonight, but Mr. Young, the building official, approached me about, as the fire marshal, about combining the Building Appeals Board and our Fire Appeals Board that didn't exist. We wanted to have an avenue for our local people, the people we serve, if they didn't agree with the decision and our maintenance of either one of those disciplines, to have an avenue here to be heard. So he has a great board. They've only had one appeal in 7 years. We do our best to maintain good relationships with the people that we serve in the community. And it was an opportunity to combine both boards. So we're here for your consideration on that.
All right, from what Mr. Nate called me the other day, and he was telling me about this, he was saying that if you oppose this, you had to go all the way to Richmond for a hearing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this way it would allow the individual to do it here amongst
much faster and be heard at a local level.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Are there any questions, Board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve the charter changes as presented.
Motion on the floor by Mrs. Tucker. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, next we have the Madison Volunteer Rescue Squad generator request.
Yes, these next three requests come from fire chiefs or rescue captains through our Emergency Services Council. We met on the 27th of April. And some of the same theme, but the Madison Volunteer Rescue Squad has placed a 55 kW generator at their main station where our public safety EMS people are housed. And they're asking for $44,770 to fund the purchase of that generator. And basically, that keeps the lights on, the doors up, and for a long time, we have had power outages, whether it's the power grid or austere weather. Keep us, we have to manually get the doors up. It takes longer, and we've even had to move people from a station because it was too cold to stay there or the water froze up. So this makes us more agile and ability to respond. But it's Emergency Services Council request. We voted on it there and brought it to you.
Do you have any questions, Board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve funding from the Emergency Services Council Capital Fund for the purchase and installation of a generator at Madison Station 1.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the Peddler Fire Department request for a generator, for one half of a generator.
Yes, the fire chief was gracious there, and he asked for one half of his propane generator, and that's the station that's the farthest out, and we have displaced our people closer. It takes us longer to get back, so now they can stay there and run calls. So, yes, they're asking for one half of the propane generator, $12,525.80.
Any discussion? If not?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board approve funding from the Amherst County Emergency Services Council capital budget to pay for one half of a generator for Peddler Volunteer Fire Department.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Ayers, and next we have a modern fire dynamics class. Is it? Yes.
Yes, so we had planned on doing this class or looking into this class before COVID. So this class is it's a very important class. We had a firefighter hurt on March 5th, 2022. It's one of the worst calls you ever want to get as a fire chief. I think Tom was at that fire. We live in a world where everything is lightweight and burns fast. This class will help the younger members and the older members be refreshed on the dynamics of fire. What it does. That fire was determined to be a bi-level fire. You don't see that very often. It was also a wind-driven fire. Our guys don't see this, but this class, about a 10-hour class, we could have up to 30 people in the county. It will teach our firefighters and EMTs on the outside when we should be defensive or offensive in a fire and how to be safer while we're putting the fire out.
All right, and the cost is just $1,500?
$1,500, and it's taught locally by a group of a fire captain in Lynchburg that teaches for a living, does a great job. And there's actually Tom and I have seen a dollhouse that was burned. They actually do demonstrations of different chemicals and to show you what vapor pressure is, how a building can be overpressured. So you not only learn about it, there's actually things that you see, and then there's physical demonstrations of a fire with a large dollhouse, and you'll see how smoke travels, what the fire does, and what we're looking for to keep people safe.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question.
Yes.
About the cost, is that, I know you said $1,500 for the class, but that's not individual cost, is it?
No, sir, that's
for everybody that attends?
For the total class.
Instructor and
It's the instructor, the props, all the other equipment to do the class.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
all right. Any question, any discussion? If not, I'll move that the board approve funding for the Emergency Services Council to pay for the modern fire dynamics class. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and next we have Tourism Department. I believe this is a appropriation for expenditure. Mr. Randy Nixon, how you doing?
Good evening. Doing good. Coming forward to the board asking that you approve an appropriation of expenditure from the Tourism Reserve Fund to update the tourism website. You should have in your packet a estimate from DCD Studios, Design Studios, the company to be used to update this website. Currently, the website is down, it's not online, and it's not available to the public. And we're just asking the board to approve the appropriation of funds from the reserve fund of $2,075 to the tourism budget so that he can update this website and get it back online as quickly as possible.
All right, seems like a legitimate
I had a
expenditure.
quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Very quick. This used to be split between your department and the Chamber of Commerce. At what point, no more, they're completely out now?
No, ma'am. This has always been paid from the tourism fund. The tourism fund comes from lodging tax, and it has to be set aside for tourism. And so we hold it in reserve, and we come to the board and ask when we want to spend it. The contract with the chamber is for $40,000 for them to operate the visitor center and to staff that with part-timers during the week. So this is somewhat additional. It's not part of the chamber's budget
Okay.
for us.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Martin?
I'm hoping you'll be working with the chamber and EDA and
Yes, sir.
what information goes.
Oh, yes, sir.
Very good.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that the board approve the appropriation of funds from the Tourism Reserve Fund in the amount of $2,075 to the tourism budget.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 9, County Administrator's Report, Boards and Commissions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. With the passing of JoJo Alcock, the District 4 representative on the Parks and Rec Board, we need to replace her. Sarah Lou Christian has stepped forward to take that seat, and so we put her before you and ask whether you would like to appoint her. We'd like to hold an interview of her, or have us continue to advertise the vacancy.
Well, I think we all are very aware of Sarah Lou's background and what she's brought to the county for many years, so it'd be a blessing for her to use her expertise.
Yeah, we had Mr. Chair, we had a Parks and Rec Board meeting last night. The board members were very enthusiastic about having Ms. Christian join them. And I would move that the board appoint Sarah Lou Christian to the Amherst County Parks and Recreation Board for a term ending December 31st, 2025.
All right, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, please say aye. All right, that's unanimous. Sarah Lou's back in action, so congratulate her for us, and we look forward to her expertise.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. The next item is a commemorative resolution for Bill Widener. The board asked that that be produced and presented at this meeting, and it is in your package. We didn't receive any edits or significant changes to it, so unless anybody wants to make changes to it now, we submit it to you for your approval.
All right, let me pull it up.
Mr. Chairman, a couple things. One, thank you for doing this so quickly, Dean. It's much appreciated. The chamber.
By the way, this is the handiwork of Joy.
And
Joy Niehaus.
Please thank Joy for me, or for us. The Chamber of Commerce wants to be able to have this read at their meeting, and I had talked to Mr. Martin, and he had agreed to do so, which is why, part of the reason, the big rush.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say, I knew Mr. Widener since I was a young boy. We used to go there and get our grain for our horses and animals and all of that. I remember going there and I got a Reese's cup. I just remember going there and getting a Reese's cup, and he was always in there. He had it. He would do everything by hand, when he ran that place. I went there many years. Always so nice and gracious, and I know he was very happy to see that the mill was going to go on into better hands, and he wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. But I know he was heavily involved in fire for many years. I know Tom knows more about it than I do, but he was always so gracious and nice to me, and I'll forever remember that.
Well, Chief Widener did serve Amherst Fire Department for many years, the chief up into 2003, and one of the things that I found very interesting is he was heavily involved in the purchase of our tanker, which is the one that's due to be replaced, but he's had lasting effects on that department, and it's men and women and people of the community like Mr. Widener or Chief Widener that helped make the fire service what it is today. So
I would be honored to recommend that we adopt this resolution from Mr. Widener.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. All right, next we have County Attorney's report. Do you have anything, Mr. Popovich?
I have nothing, sir.
All right. We'll move on to liaison and committee reports. First would be the Ag Committee. Ms. Tucker, do you have anything?
Mr. Ayers and I went down to Pennsylvania County with another group from Nelson and toured the facility down there. It was, just really confirmed that my passion for this project, and I hope that it can move forward. The report has come back. We had some issues with it. Mr. Ayers and I both agree that the next step will be getting a joint board together, and just the question before them is, you want to purchase this land or not after we talk to our board? Mr. Ayers, you've been in this probably more than I have now. Anything to add?
Nothing other than the trip to Pennsylvania County to look at those facilities, the Ag Center, as well as the training opportunity that Pennsylvania County provides to its student body as well as adults, was pretty amazing. We're lacking in this area for those young people that want to get into trades, but of course our school board is very supportive of this program as well, and again, we as the two bodies, being Nelson and Amherst, need to decide if we're going to move forward with this property, and once that's done, then the two bodies will need to establish the foundation that will govern and run this and build this facility. So, that's kind of where we stand, but it would be a pretty amazing day if we could see that at least start getting off the ground to provide this to our community as well as surrounding jurisdictions.
Can I ask you all a question regarding, I've been to the one in Chatham, and it's a great facility. It's got an indoor riding arena. It's got everything you need for agriculture. I know that was pretty much paid for by the Tobacco Commission money, and I believe Farm Bureau may have been involved in that, and also the state. Is that correct?
There are many opportunities of alternative funding. You saw what that facility looks like, Mr. Pugh. And I was amazed when they told us what funds the Tobacco Commission had given them, and that was approximately $1.5 million. That's a very little bit amount of money that went into that facility. One building would cost that money. So, they have attached to other resources of alternative funding through different foundations, as well as some anonymous donors in their community to build that. And I think what we're missing, especially, is that CIT school is pretty amazing at what they've invested in that, and what education, alternative fundings through education is available to trade schools now. I mean, it was pretty amazing to see what those students had the ability to learn, and they have over 500 applications for that school, and only were able to select a few shy of 200. So, it's and she said they're growing every year. It was from cosmetology to robotics to, it was pretty amazing what they offer, and it was, the best of equipment and whatnot. And she said once they reach a point that they need new equipment, that, they submit for the grant funding to get it, and she said 98% of the time they're awarded the grants for it. But it was, to think we'd have that opportunity for our young people and Nelson's young people, plus outside jurisdictions, to buy seats in the class if we could get a facility, would be pretty amazing.
All right, yeah, it would be. It would be nice. I guess there's many avenues for funding, and ultimately we'll talk about that, I guess, in a few weeks, or whenever that may be. Ms. Tucker, do you have anything on the school board?
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman, other than that I know that this board welcomes Dr. Wells as a new superintendent. Look forward to working with him.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Mr. Martin, you got anything with Parks and Rec?
Sure. So I mentioned we had a meeting last night with the promotion of our new director, who's doing a great job. There were over 40 applicants for the recreation specialist position that was left vacant, so that's good news. We all know about the survey for the trail at Mill Creek is proceeding. Groundbreaking for Central Bark is scheduled for October 1st. A lot of exciting things getting ready to come forward. Director's working with Mackenzie Pig to establish a soccer program for children with special needs, which is pretty cool. Staff's also working on the possibility of bringing a national archery tournament to the county in June of '23. I believe you're involved in that, Mr. Rogers. The Easter egg hunt at Pops Grove went very well. They had about 70 children. Senior activities at second stage are going to reopen on Mondays and Wednesdays, I believe, which is good news. And also discussing how to better publicize the schedule of events to get that information out. And last but not least, any of you that need tickets to the theme parks like Kings Dominion and Busch Gardens, you can get them at Parks and Rec. So continue to enjoy going and working with that committee.
Sounds like you've been busy. The rec department, I can't believe it was that many applicants for the position. It must be a sought-after position, because a lot of places you just can't find people to do the work. But I guess it's a nice job. Very, very decent, yeah, you know, it's a nice place to be. But we appreciate the work you're doing. It sounds like you're fitting right in, and we thank you, Mr. Nixon. So. And the other two items were just for your information, Lynchburg Regional Business Alliance and Blue Ridge Regional Jail. If you all have any questions, Mr. Rogers can answer those. All right, next we have departmental reports. So the first item is the transfer station update. Mr. Brian Thacker.
Greetings. So this is a brief update on the transfer station. I'll certainly answer any questions the board may have. The project includes a maintenance shop, transfer station itself, a fuel island, and the extension on the administration building. So we're about at the 90% point of completion. Come June 17th, DEQ is coming by for a final inspection, and they will permit us to use it at that point, though we still are waiting for many other permits to pass. Most of our equipment is ordered and been received, including a loader, trucks, and trailers. There's still some assets outstanding. One in particular, which I saw today, is called a potato smasher. It's a medieval-looking device that compacts the trash in the trailers. It's been fabricated for us down in South Boston. Right now, the landfill is being repaved. So once you enter the landfill from Kitmore Farm Road and go to the transfer station, you will never hit gravel. There'll be straight pavement to there and out, so I think that'll be pleasing to many citizens. At the moment, we're waiting internet installation, and then certainly all the county permits need to be applied once everything is finished. Part of the allure of this large project includes all the departments we've been dealing with, including finance, purchasing, zoning, Mr. Rogers, information technology, public safety, the service authority, as well as DEQ, VDOT, AEP, and even the project manager. Everybody has their own set of criteria and timelines, things that we have to do. It's been quite a journey for the past 2+ years. So at this point, I'll answer any questions the board may have.
Yeah, I have a question. I went to the landfill not too long ago, and I looked down, I saw these beautiful, shiny aluminum semi-trailers. I think they're aluminum. And I didn't recall that we were going to buy those. And so I just had a question. I guess that was money left over from the transfer station that bought those, or the equipment? I mean,
it started there, but then Miss McBride did the refinance. This was brought to the board's attention on October 6, 2020. We presented a list at that point on how we'd like to spend the refinance monies if approved, and part of that was for the tractors and trailers. It's also based on a cost analysis that we did in terms of doing it in-house as opposed to subbing it out. We figured we save about 45 to 50% of the cost in doing it in-house.
And how much time do we got left on the landfill at this point? 2 years, did you say?
That's an ominous question, Mr. Pugh. So we've uncapped the back of it now. We anticipated that to be 18 to 24 months. However, there are mitigating factors, including Green for Life opening a new transfer station in Concord. We anticipate that to be in the next 12 to 18 months. Upon that opening, we also anticipate them removing most, if not all, of their trash from Amherst County, thereby potentially prolonging using the back portion of the landfill. So that may be 2 to 3 years instead of 18 to 24 months.
Okay.
But then again, the demolition of CBTC
That would certainly...
could speed up its demise.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just concerned because I just have, diesel fuel is $5, well, I don't even know what it is, $5.50 at this point. And I know that's how we're gonna be hauling all of our trash. And many years ago, when we discussed this, we were looking at saving $275,000 by having the transfer station, but I think all of that is probably gonna be eaten up by the cost of fuel. And I don't know if you all have been looking at where you're gonna take it, what's the cost gonna be, how many more employees you will need. It's just a concern of mine, because, I mean, it's substantially higher as far as the cost of fuel.
But the cost of fuel would be higher even if we subbed it out, too. The
Oh, of
subcontractor
course,
would certainly charge us extra.
yeah.
The way we've determined it, Mr. Rogers and I have talked about this at length, we're really shipping out our liability. So you're kind of paying more upfront in terms of not being able to bury it, but shipping it out, but you're transferring that liability, especially with engineering costs and DEQ increasing regulations for open and active landfills. It's become quite cumbersome and expensive.
So I understand your thoughts, and I guess it's a good thing that we opened up the
Oh, yes.
cell, because if we were shipping it now, you're absolutely correct. It really wouldn't, the fuel cost would be detrimental to us. So let me ask the question a different way. So it could be 2 to 3 years before we're potentially shipping the trash out of the county?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Hopefully the tires don't dry rot on the trailer by the time you start hauling that stuff.
Well, we will be using one of the trailers, so we have what's known as a walking floor trailer, so we'll begin using the transfer station upon its completion and permitting. We'll be taking trailers from the transfer station to the back portion of the landfill and offloading it. So at least on one trailer, they will not be dry rotting.
All right. Well, yeah, that's gonna make it a lot better than having to go up to the top and dump. That way you all are gonna, so as a resident, I would come and I'd dump my trash into the transfer station. It'd be then loaded onto the truck and taken to the landfill.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
That's correct.
All right. Well, thank you. Any other questions?
Will they dump it inside or out?
You'll be dumping in the transfer station, is that what you're asking? So there will be a side entrance, it'll be kind of a cul-de-sac for the residents. You'll back into like a 2-bay door, dump it right on the floor and leave, and your vehicle will never leave the pavement.
No standing in the rain?
Well, you'll have to get out to offload the contents of said vehicle, but
You won't have- And then you won't have to worry about backing into scrap metal and
That's correct.
things of that nature that people often complain about at the landfill, and it will reduce the mud and all of that stuff.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have a budget surplus report and a general fund report. Ms. Stacy McBride, would you like to come up?
Good evening. I don't normally go over this with you all, but we've had quite a, when I ran the numbers for March, that personal property thing popped right back up. So what I wanted to basically point out about your budget analysis report is we're going to have that same $1 million that we set aside in 2023 available in 2022. We had an excess of personal property tax revenue in both years. We gave back part of it in 2023, but we're going to see that $1 million again in 2022 when we close the books. We didn't budget for that. I did budget for inflation. I just didn't budget for that much inflation. And so I want you to be aware that that's going to be some one-time money that you all are going to have in your pot at the end of this year. Everything else looks really good. Do you all have any questions, since it's right before the end of the fiscal year?
I have none. I know the dean said that he would like you to get up and talk to us, saying there would be possibly an additional $1 million. So, I mean, that's good news for us.
It was a surprise when it doesn't show $1 million on here yet, because I actually looked at the number as of today, and it's 1.1 in excess on the personal property taxes.
And growing.
Yeah, this is just through today.
Okay.
So, I just wanted you to know that that was available. We may need a little bit of it for the jail or for the detention home. That seems to be a very popular place for people to reside this year.
Or fuel costs, or...
Well, we set that aside already, so I think we're okay. But it'll go back in your general fund, if nothing else. So to look forward to your CIP in future years. Just kind of wanted to give you a heads up in case someone else noticed it, and you all would have the answer to the question. It is, used cars started going up in 2021, then we had a huge jump for the 2022 taxes. I don't think that'll all go away once it all balances out, but we gave back 20% because it was so large.
Well,
So, things are looking good.
yeah,
So just,
better to have that problem than the other way around, I suppose.
yes, I don't want to come back and say I don't have $1 million.
Yeah, it's gone.
All right, I just wanted to point that out.
Stay for the general fund availability report.
Oh, I wasn't going to do any more.
Does anyone have any questions for Stacy?
No.
All right.
Kind of put those both together for
Yeah,
me.
we're good, Stacy.
Okay,
Thank you very much. All right, well, that will close it out. We'll go ahead and go to citizen comments. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close citizen comments, and we'll go to matters from members of the board. Ms. Tucker?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything.
Mr. Ayers?
No, sir.
Mr. Martin?
No, sir.
I have nothing. Mr. Wade?
None today, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so now we have a closed session scheduled, and we need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved, Mr.
Hold on, I've got it right here, I'll make it. I move that the Amherst County Board of Supervisors convene in closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711, subsection A3, for the purpose of discussion related to consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body, specifically related to the acquisition of properties located in District 2 and District 5. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Wade, if you'll hang up here, we'll call you from the phone in that room.
Will do, thank you.
Okay.
I move that the Amherst County Board of Supervisors come out of closed session. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, and now I move that the Amherst County Board of Supervisors certified by a recorded vote that to the best of each board's members' knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion authorizing the closed session were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session. Roll call vote. Ms. Tucker? Aye. Mr. Ayers? Aye. Mr. Martin? Aye. Mr. Pugh? Aye. All right. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Wade. All right, if there's nothing else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion on the floor by Mr. Martin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Aye.
Regina, do we have homework?
Somebody called me.
You may take, don't run away. Yeah.